Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of the great millstone who do rule and teach well. Peace and blessings, salutations, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Barakadam, to the hopefully elect. Right? So, we're dealing with the serpent. Okay? We're dealing with a very crafty man, a man that is very artful in his deceit. And we saw yesterday that those two National Guard got allegedly unalived out there in D.C. close to the White House. And today, Trump gave an order to send in 500 more National Guard into D.C. All right, which through the spirit, brothers were going into it. This is what these devils would do. And I want to get to a video later on in the lesson, but I kind of want to paint a picture. But being that today is Thanksgiving Day, the day where these Babylonians, have a feast, and celebrate being thankful, which really the origins of it, goes back to rape, robbery, and murder of the Israelites, you know what I'm saying? But you have this here. All right, now you have the Apple Digital ID, which is pretty much a requirement now to travel on these airlines. Okay, and this is the first holiday season where the real ID plus the digital ID is now being implemented. And like I said, I want to paint a picture so you'll see where all this is leading, because all this leading into 2026 is very convenient. All right, but we're gonna check out 2 TikTok clips and get a video, and Lord willing, this lesson is edifying.
The first major holiday since Real ID became required through TSA, and the first holiday season that you can use digital ID as well to get through TSA. It's a busy travel week. Around 170,000 passengers are expected to fly out of Seattle today, and another 180,000 on Sunday. A spokesperson with the TSA told me Real ID enforcement has been going very well. About 94% of passengers nationwide are presenting a Real ID or another acceptable form of ID like a passport. SeaTac now accepts digital IDs too, like in the Apple Wallet. More than 250 airports nationwide, including SeaTac, allow digital IDs at security checkpoints. Still, it's a good idea to have a physical ID on hand as well, just in case verification is needed. Also important to keep in mind, there are still some lingering impacts from the Olympic gasoline pipeline leak. It's been nearly 2 weeks of fuel stops, emergency fuel trucking, and warnings about possible delays. To help keep flights running, airlines have been bringing in extra fuel from other cities rather than relying solely on Seattle supplies. During this busy Thanksgiving week, Delta says some flights could see schedule changes due to limited fuel, while Alaska Airlines says it doesn't expect any disruptions. Back out here at SeaTac, if you're flying out this week, especially on a long flight, keep checking your flight status. And if you need to reschedule, it's important to check with your airline directly to see if your flight's been impacted or if you can possibly receive a refund without any penalty.
Roblox announcing requiring age verification checks or ID checks or face scanning ID verification checks in order to go on and play their game.
So you see, these biometrics and digital IDs are being implemented, or should I say integrated, into every facet of society. Even now, video games, Roblox, all right, they're now requiring age checks, all right, for communication in a new safety standard. Okay, so these things have been implemented in the name of peace and safety. And being that those 2 National Guard soldiers were shot out there in DC yesterday, that's also going to be a call to implement more peace and safety measures, which digital ID is going to be one of those things that's going to be at the forefront. All right, but let's continue.
Yes, they were under there. Lots of pressure, right? Lots of pressure because of all the bad things that have been happening on Roblox, right?
All this is being implemented because of all the bad things that have been happening on Roblox. You see this? All right, so for all of the because you have a lot of what they say hate speech online, a lot of threats, just a lot of ill activity going on online. So now these biometric checks are going to be put in place to say, oh, we need to make sure that we know who you are, because we can't have hate speech or online bullying or these things. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that's also why, because you got GTA 6 coming out next year. I this is me speaking as a man, but it makes sense seeing the way this society is going. But they pushed back the release date for GTA 6 because GTA 6 will also implement these same measures. All right. And more than likely, if you're going to want to get that game, which a lot of people want that game, that's pretty much like the most hyped, anticipated game ever. You know what I'm saying? GTA 6. So they're going to put something in place. Just watch and see. But they're going to put something in place to where they say, yeah, if you want to get GTA 6, you're going to have to get a digital ID or some form of biometric verification. Okay, because that's where they're going with it.
Online predation, exploitation, saying things that people shouldn't be saying, like just a ton of bad PR. So obviously this is the reason why they've gone into it, right?
Yeah. So people can opt in voluntarily into December, where you can be the first to submit your face to Roblox in order for it to verify your age and then allow you to chat with people. However, in January, which is actually pretty soon, users will be required to submit a face scan ID in order to get involved in chat. You can still play.
You see? So come January, right now is optional. Okay, and we know these devils work on gradualism, all right, to where they implement these things in small steps, to get you used to it. But you just heard them say, right now into December, you can get, you don't have to opt into this to play the game. But come January 2026, which is right around the corner, you're going to be required. So this is going to be a requirement in order for you to play the game. All right. So again, you have to see where this is going now. That's pretty much the point I wanted to get out of this video. Now when you get this right here, this is from the brother Arrows of Indignation 144. Subscribe and be edified. Always uploads very informative, edifying, and beautiful videos. This is coming from Trump. This is after those 2 National Guards were shot in D.C. A few words from the commander-in-chief. All right, now you're going to see at about the 3-minute mark that he's going to make some statements that line up with the 2 videos that we just played, that this is really all going into a peace and safety measure, and that the digital ID will soon be required, all right, come next year. So let's check this out.
My great fellow Americans, earlier today, on the eve of the Thanksgiving holiday, 2 members of the National Guard serving in Washington, D.C., were shot at point-blank range in a monstrous ambush-style attack just steps away from the White House. They had been deputized as part of the most successful public safety and national security mission in the history of our nation's capital, the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force, which has achieved an unprecedented reduction in violent crime and crimes of all type. This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime.
Which that incident was a false flag any damn way. All right, so if you know the devil like we know the devil, all right, then this right here don't surprise you, man. Okay, this is all a part of the agenda.
Against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity. The hearts of all Americans tonight are with those 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard and their families. The love of our entire country is pouring out for them, and we are lifting them up in our prayers. As we are filled with anguish and grief for those who were shot, we're also filled with righteous anger and ferocious resolve. As President of the United States, I am...
You heard that? Righteous anger and ferocious resolve. You see? So that right there should let you know that these devils real soon that they about to come down with some heavy stuff, man. Okay, they over here talking about a righteous anger and ferocious resolve, right? So they about to come with some laws. You know, we see that they coming with 500 more National Guard troops out there in D.C. So Esau's coming down, man. As it says in Revelation 12:12, the devil shall come unto you with great wrath, for he knoweth that he hath but a short time. All right. So yeah, man, Esau about to lose his damn mind because 2026, they already showed you on that what was that, the Forbes magazine cover, that it's gonna be a lot of chaos, a lot of wars, a lot of disease, a lot of death come next year. And you know, and that's gonna be 2026 is gonna be the year where they roll out the digital ID, make it mandatory, and you know, the chip.
Determined to ensure that the animal who perpetrated this atrocity pays the steepest possible price. I can report tonight that based on the best available information, the Department of Homeland Security is confident that the suspect in custody is a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan, a hellhole on earth. He was flown in by the Biden administration in September 2021 on those infamous flights that everybody was talking about. Nobody knew who was coming in. Nobody knew anything about it. His status was...
Exactly. And see, people, you know, are still buying into this left-right paradigm. Oh, the Democrats, oh, the Republicans. Like, people really believe that these two factions that have been set up, that they're really against each other, but they're working together. Okay, Biden being a Democrat, all right, his mission was to pretty much set up for Trump. You see, his mission was to bring in these all these foreign nationals from overseas. Okay, all right, which a lot of them were military age men, and a lot of these countries that they came from, they sent them over here. All right, because this is a global agenda that's playing out in order to usher in this great reset. You see, so all these nations are complicit together to bring about this new world order. All right, and yeah, so Biden set it up for Trump. He brought in the illegals. Now you're seeing all kind of tear attacks happen on American soil. Allegedly, the guy that shot the 2 National Guard troops, he was an Afghan national. Okay, well, how did he get over here? Biden and that regime. Now that they've been, came over here, now these tear attacks are starting to happen. Now Trump is now here to usher in the next phase of the agenda. All right, which is so that everybody gets a digital ID, everybody gets chipped, and that they implement more surveillance, which, by the way, all of this stuff was outlined within the big, beautiful bill. You see what I'm saying? So what you see happening, what he's talking about is bringing forth what was in the big, beautiful bill, but they're doing it by chaos.
Extended under legislation signed by President Biden, a disastrous president, the worst in the history of our country. This attack underscores the single greatest national security threat facing our nation. The last administration let in 20 million unknown and unvetted foreigners from all over the world, from places that you don't want to even know about. No country can tolerate such a risk to our very survival. An example is Minnesota, where hundreds of thousands of Somalians are ripping off our country and ripping apart that once great state. Billions of dollars are lost, and gangs of Somalians come from a country that doesn't even have a government, no laws, no water, no military, no nothing. As their representatives in our country preach to us about our Constitution and how our country is no good. We're not going to put up with these kind of assaults on law and order by people who shouldn't even be in our country. We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden, and we must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country. If they can't love our country, we don't want them. America will never bend and never yield in the face of terror. And at the same time, we will not be deterred from the mission these service members were so nobly fulfilling. That is why tonight I can announce that I have directed the Department of War to mobilize an additional 500 troops to help protect our capital city. We will make America totally safe again, and we will bring the perpetrator of this barbaric attack to swift and certain justice if the bullets going in the opposite direction haven't already done that. During this time of the year, when we gather at home with loved ones, these...
All right, so that's pretty much the point I wanted to get out of this video, but you heard him say pretty much that let's run it back. All right.
In our country, we must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan.
We must now re-examine every single alien that has entered our country. And how are they going to do that? Palantir, more surveillance, once again, digital IDs, biometrics. You're already seeing the infrastructure be set up to examine, all right, everyone that comes in here. You see? It's already happening within the Europe, within the EU. It's happening now within Africa. It's happening in East Asia. You see? So again, this is a global reset that's going on. And it's all been set up. It's all been orchestrated, you see, because what's already taking place, with the biometrics and the digital ID in these other nations, they're already steps ahead of America. All right. America really has to catch up. But see, what's been stopping America from, just completely going all out is the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Because in America, the American citizens have certain rights that cannot be infringed upon. So what better way than to do away with those rights or to make people feel like they need to give up their rights than to bring chaos and to put people in fear and to take the jobs away, to take away the opportunity to make sure people own nothing, all right? That's how you're going to get people to bend the knee to the system, all right? And this is all a cunningly devised a plan from the devil, Esau, Edom. You see, because he understands that time is ticking. The sands in his hourglass are running out, all right? So he got to make a move. Spiritually, Esau got like 1.5 left on the shot clock, and he's down by 2. Okay, so, hey, he got to make something happen, man. All right? This devil about to throw a Hail Mary and hope for the best,
These two patriots were wearing the uniform of our country, patrolling the streets of our capital. They had taken a selfless oath to defend our nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that is exactly what they were doing when they were gunned down in a savage attack. I want to express my extraordinary gratitude to every...
All right, so we can get some scriptures, right? Let's go to Daniel 8, right? Daniel 8 and 25. And it says, and through his policy, also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. This is really speaking about Antiochus Epiphanes, but what was then is now, all right? The same spirit is back today. And he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. See? So by peace and safety, right? These devils are going to destroy many, all right? Which is going to be basically putting you in a digital prison, all right? They want to have you in a 15-minute city. They want to have you surveilled at all times. Privacy is going to be gone. Okay, and it's all in the name of what? Peace and safety. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, which is Yahushai, but he shall be broken without hand. All right, so through these policies and his different laws, we read Wisdom of Solomon, the 2nd chapter, it speaks about the wicked in their hearts, saying, to let our strength be the law of justice, right? So that's how they go about implementing their tyranny and their crafty counsel by laws, all right? Because a law is something that you can't really argue with. It is what it is. So that, that's how these devils do. You know what I'm saying? Then when you go to Psalms 94, Psalms 94 in verse 20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by law? They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemn the innocent blood. But the Lord is my defense, and my God is the rock of my refuge. And he shall bring upon them their own iniquity, and shall cut them off in their own wickedness. Yeah, the Lord our God, Yahweh Bashmel Shai, shall cut them off. And yeah, these devils are going to be cut off. But before that happens, they are going to get but so far with their agenda. They are going to bring about the digital ID. They are going to bring about the chip. All right, they are going to bring about the digital surveillance and all of that, because that's biblical prophecy. You see, but when it comes to really enslaving all of humanity and really setting up this NWO, it's not going to get off the ground how they think it is. All right, like I said, they're going to get but so far, but you know, it's going to come a point where the Lord is going to raise up a standard against these devils to frustrate their plans. Okay, but yeah, the throne of iniquity, all right, is framing mischief by law. All right, the rulership of Esau, man. All right, he's framing mischief by his laws and his crafty counsel. Okay, these devils are continuously gathered together for war. All right, let's go to Psalm 140. Psalm 140. And we can start at the top. Psalm 141, to the chief musician, a psalm of David. Deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war. They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent. Adders poisonous under their lips. Selah. Keep me, O Lord, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent man, who have purposed to overthrow my goings. And that's Esau. Okay, he is the wicked man. He is the violent man. All right, he is the wicked. So all of these mischiefs and vain imaginations that he's bringing forth, you know, these things are all to get you caught up in a snare, in a trap, ultimately to destroy you. And the average person don't know what all these things mean and where he's going with it. But through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmel Shai, we can see, man. All right, we can see in the midst of the darkness the wiles of the devil. Okay, let's get 1 Corinthians 2 and 11 to close out. 1 Corinthians 2. Or is it 2 Corinthians? It's like Corinth 2. I think it's 2nd chapter. Yep, here we go. 2 Corinthians 2 and 11, it says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Okay, and that's why, you know, when you read in Ephesians, the 5th chapter, it tells you to redeem the time, because the days are evil, man. There's a lot of evil coming down the pipe, a lot of mischievousness, a lot of, cunningly devised works, all right, from this devil that's coming down. So, you know, we are to be circumspect, you know, watching, looking around us and being aware, because these devices that he's bringing, you know, the scriptures talk about how, you know, when, the devil brings about his craft, roughly paraphrasing that, if it were possible, it should deceive the very elect. You know what I'm saying? So the average person, like the things that he's going to do and the narratives he's going to put out there are going to seem so believable that it's going to deceive the average person, but it's not going to deceive the elect. All right, because the elect are going to have the spirit of Yahweh Bashmel Shai to be able to see through these cunningly devised mischiefs. All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out, Lord willing. Let's edify through the Rakah Kadash. Call Lord Yahweh Bashmel Shai, Bashmel Rakah Kadash. And until next time, Lord willing, shalom to the elect. Kom Yashala. Wa ba ba ba.